Welcome to the Explainer. So, you're a product builder, right? You've poured weeks, maybe months, into perfecting those tiny, satisfying micro interactions. But here's the big question. Can you actually patent that work? Let's find out. All right, let's get right to it. You know those small bounces, those subtle fades, the ripples that just feel so right? They seem absolutely crucial to the experience, don't they? But here's the catch. The law doesn't really care how beautiful they are. It judges them on what they do. It's all about function, not just fluff. So to figure this out, we need to find what we'll call the hidden line. Think of it as this invisible boundary that separates beautiful UX art from a truly protectable invention. And knowing where that line is, that's the key. On one side of this line, you've got expression. This is all about the aesthetics, the style, the things that create delight. But on the other side, that's where function lives. We're talking about the mechanism, the method, and most importantly, solving a real problem for the user. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. The patent world leans heavily, and I mean heavily, toward function. It's not judging your easing curves or your color palette. It's laser focused on one thing. What does your animation do? Look, this is a trap so many people fall into. You could create the most gorgeous, fluid animation the world has ever seen, but if it doesn't introduce a new way of doing something, it's just style. And you can't patent style. You can't patent the look, but you can patent the structure.
Okay, so how do you know if your animation has actually crossed that hidden line into functional territory? Well, let's run through a quick checklist. These are the signs that you might have a real invention on your hands.
First thing on the list, does it reduce cognitive load? In other words, does the motion actually help users think less while getting more done? If it makes the experience faster, clearer, or just less confusing, it's starting to solve a real problem. Think about it like this. Let's say you have a transition that doesn't just, fade from one screen to the next. Instead, it shows a card expanding from a list to fill the screen. That's not just pretty polish. That's a functional tool that teaches the user the layout of the app without them even realizing it. Number 2, is it part of a repeatable system? See, patent examiners aren't really looking for one-off special effects. They want to see an engineered method, something with clear rules, triggers, and logic that you can apply across your entire product. And third, is it data-driven? Is it dynamic? A static animation that does the exact same thing every single time, that's probably just decoration. But an animation that reacts and adapts based on what the user does, like how fast they swipe or how hard they press, well, now you've got a responsive system, and that is way more defensible. And this really gets to the heart of it. The real invention often isn't the animation you see on the surface. It's the invisible logic underneath. All those tiny rules deciding when it speeds up, slows down, or changes course. That's the real engine. All right, so that's the theory. But how does this apply to what you're building right now? Let's get super practical with a simple test you can use on your own work. Here it is. Ask yourself this one really powerful question. If you took the animation away completely, would the product still work the exact same way? If the answer is yes, and the product works just fine, maybe just looks a little less slick, then you've probably made some beautiful art. But if the answer is no, if taking it away breaks the flow, slows users down, or just makes things confusing, then congratulations. Your animation is doing real work. And that is the foundation for a patent. And this leads to a huge strategic shift in how you should think about this stuff. It's about seeing motion not as the final polish you add at the end, but as a piece of your core technology, a real competitive advantage. Honestly, the biggest mistake people make is waiting until everything looks pixel perfect before they even think about IP. By then, it might be too late. The patent isn't in that final polished look. It's in the early, messy logic, that first sketch that solved the problem. So what do? Simple. Document everything, early and often. First, sketch out the logic, the rules and triggers, not just how it looks. Second, record a prototype. Even a rough, shaky phone video can be enough to show the inventive step. And third, describe the behavior. Write down how the system is supposed to react. You're capturing the system, not just the style. And here's why this is such a game changer. When you protect the behavior and not just the look, it becomes incredibly difficult for your competitors to copy you. They can't just change the color or tweak the timing. They'd have to completely re-engineer their own flow to avoid stepping on your patent. So, as you go back to your work, ask yourself, what's the invisible machinery that makes your product feel so intuitive? Start looking for those hidden rules and dynamic systems, because that's not just where great UX lives, it's where you'll find your truly defensible edge.